Good morning, everybody. Welcome everyone to this budget workshop of the Leon County Board of County Commissioners on May 25th, 2021, 9:03 a.m. One thing that the county attorney and I were talking about right before the meeting started was that we are still under the emergency order, which by our own agreement, the board passed a 3-minute limit on commissioners' time addressing issues by agenda item. So one thing we may want to consider is, for the purposes of a workshop like this, the whole point of us getting together is to have discussions on very detailed topics, such as the budget. I'm hoping maybe someone here on the board would entertain a motion to waive that 3-minute time limit requirement for this workshop only going forward. Is that something that the board would consider?
I would make that motion.
All right. Okay, Commissioner Welch has made that motion to waive the 3-minute time limit for commissioners speaking for this workshop. It's been seconded by Commissioner Cummings. All right, thank you very much, ma'am. All those in favor of the motion is aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously 4-0 with Commissioners Jackson, Maddox, and Vice Chair Proctor out of chambers. Thank you very much. Well, with that, why don't we go ahead and go right into the presentations. Mr. County Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners, and a special welcome to Commissioners Cummings and Commissioner Welch as they embark on their first of what will be many budget workshops in the future. And I promise you, Commissioners, and I'm sure your colleagues will vouch for me on this, today's workshop will be every bit as exciting as the name budget workshop implies. So, but Commissioners, while the budget workshop and our budget process may not be exciting, it certainly reflects some pretty exciting times that we've all have and continue to experience as an organization and as a community. And while this time has certainly challenged our fiscal and organizational capacity in every way imaginable, there's also reason for optimism as we recover from severe revenue losses due to the shutdown of the global economy, and as we plan and prepare for this organization and to facilitate better times ahead. And that's precisely what the preliminary budget before you does. But as you know, Commissioners, we're very early in the budget process. Following this workshop, we have a second workshop planned for June. We have another one tentatively scheduled for July. And then, of course, we have our September public hearings on the budget. Commissioners, while we're early in the process, the board has already provided preliminary guidance, policy, and fiscal direction to us in the development of the FY22 budget. And building on that direction today, we're seeking your guidance on any other budgetary or fiscal policy matters that the board wishes to address in the development of the FY22 budget. Commissioners, after my opening comments, Alan will dive into a little deeper detail in terms of the budget overview and provide additional information that is available to us at this time in the process. Following our budget overview, Commissioners, as you know, we have several budget discussion items for your consideration, including the next one, following the budget overview item, which is the ARPA, or the American Rescue Plan Act item, which, and as we'll discuss in greater detail throughout today's workshop, Commissioners, is the first federal funding that allows and strongly encourages local governments to use federal funding for the purposes of revenue loss during the pandemic. Commissioners, we will discuss the ARPA in greater detail in a moment, but this revenue loss provision, the revenue loss provision in the ARPA underscores something important that you've heard me say over the years during this time in the budget process, which is that budgets are not done in any one year in isolation. In fact, Commissioners, each budget builds upon the next. And of course, the decisions you make create opportunities or challenges for successive budgets. That's just the way the budget process is. But it's never been more true than it is today with ARPA. We'll talk about that in just a few moments. But like in previous years, Commissioners, Because of the deliberate actions taken over numerous budget cycles, the county was and is in a very strong position fiscally to be able to address the significant financial impacts of COVID-19 over the last 2 fiscal years. This strong foundation, Commissioners, as you all know, has been built on budget discipline, sound fiscal planning, and an organization-wide focus on innovation, cost avoidance, and efficiency. That same approach, Commissioners, will continue to serve us well going forward. With that, I'd like to take just a couple of minutes, Commissioners, to discuss broadly the economic impacts of the pandemic, followed by the major highlights in the FY 2022 budget. Commissioners, as we all know, and as has been written many times in all the items that you've received to this point, the pandemic has been a human tragedy of historic proportions, which has had an unprecedented economic impact, resulting in a global recession. Unemployment rates reached levels not experienced since the 1930s and during the Great Depression. These unemployment rates, coupled with stay-at-home orders issued to slow the spread of the pandemic, severely impacted government revenues such as gas taxes, sales taxes, and tourism taxes. In response, Commissioners, as you well know, Leon County responded to the deep decline in revenues by enacting a hiring freeze, deferring capital projects, implementing operating reductions, stopping non-essential training and travel, and all without any layoffs and all without utilizing excessive amounts of reserves. And Commissioners, while we were addressing these revenue declines and dealing with hiring freezes and some of the other issues that we put in place to mitigate the impact, as you all know, demands for services increased and increased dramatically. We created and implemented numerous new programs almost overnight for citizens and businesses and nonprofits. That work took an organization-wide effort and, of course, continues today. We activated the EOC, and you all have, I know you all keep count every day, but today is 425 days. And of course, we developed extensive and expansive communications campaigns to our community throughout. But given the unprecedented magnitude of the impacts, Commissioners, as I advised you early on over the last couple of years, and you'll probably remember this, I said that only the federal government could provide the financial resources necessary to truly deal effectively with the pandemic back in those early days when we weren't quite sure what would happen. To support the economy, the Federal Reserve and the federal government ultimately took extraordinary actions to address the sharp decline, the sharp economic decline. They reduced interest rates to near zero. They launched emergency loan programs. They provided direct stimulus to individuals. They enhanced unemployment benefits. They passed the historic CARES Act. They enhanced or enacted the emergency rental assistance programs 1 and 2 that we'll be talking about a little bit later today, 2 specifically. And they passed the American Rescue Plan that we call the ARPA, and we'll be talking about that again a lot today. And while all the programs that we talked about and all these actions were critical to resuscitate the economy, none of the programs until the ARPA again allowed for revenue replacement for local governments. And Commissioners, as I said during last year's budget workshop, without federal funding to replace lost revenues, the impacts on the FY 2022 budget would have been severe. And while the economy is recovering more quickly than originally predicted, county revenues are still below pre-pandemic levels. And as is the case in local government, our revenues will lag the overall economic recovery. And we could talk a little bit more about that today as well. This, Commissioners, is the backdrop and the background in which this very measured FY 2022 budget, preliminary budget, is being developed. In summary, Commissioners, the highlights of the preliminary budget before you today has no increase in taxes or fees of any kind. There is no net increase in general revenue supported positions under the county government, demonstrating our continued budgetary constraint. It was developed with the help of millions of dollars in new cost savings identified internally through our year-round processes. It features a reduced use of fund balance. We'll talk about that as well. Support for our constitutional officers' budgets, and the use of revenue loss replacement funding from the federal government to assist in the balancing of the budget. And of course, the ARPA agenda item, which follows this one, includes millions more in aid, commissioners, to our human service nonprofits and public health providers to continue to address COVID-related needs in the community. Commissioners, building on this preliminary budget, any additional policy guidance you provide today will be considered at your June 22nd workshop. And as I wrap up my comments, Commissioners, I want to emphasize that in preparing these budget materials today, and the ARPA item in particular, like CARES last year, these were among the most important and intricate items that I'm sure any of us will ever see. The amount of effort that's gone into this has been immense, even by our standards. I hope, Commissioners, that you agree that what might have been very complicated or even contentious issues are presented here in a clear and very straightforward manner for your policy deliberation process. Finally, Commissioners, before we transition into the remainder of today's agenda, I want to remind the board that today's workshop is scheduled from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., but I'm sure we will not need that amount of time. We'll probably have ample time to break even before lunch. But of course, Commissioners, you have all the time that you deem necessary for today. Based on your guidance today, we will present a budget ratification item that'll be presented to you on June 8th. Also, after this workshop, we will begin preparing materials for your June 22nd budget workshop. And Commissioners, the balance of the budget discussion items presented today are funded in the preliminary budget. Commissioners, of course, I want to take a moment to thank all of our county staff. In particular, I'd like to thank Scott Ross, as I do this time of year, but I only thank him this one time of the year. He gets a little out of control, but him and his staff for their continued dedication and excellence in what they do. I'd also like to recognize our constitutional officers. That's important for the spirit of cooperation that they have demonstrated in preparing their budget submissions. Needless to say, they have a significant impact on our budget, and we have an excellent working relationship, which is something that I know we all very much appreciate. As for my final, as Commissioner Proctor might say, I want to thank you, Commissioners, for your policy direction and your consistent leadership leading up to and including today in the development of the preliminary FY 2022 budget. Commissioners, staff will be on hand today as we get into the various budget discussion items. You'll see them come up to the table, and as we'll emphasize throughout the day, don't be afraid, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, to wave at us, get our attention, ask questions, and like I said, we have plenty of time today. So, but with that, I'd like to hand it off to Alan, who's going to get into a little bit more detail in terms of the budget overview before we get into the other discussion items before you today. So with that, Alan?
Thanks, Vince. So, Commissioners, we're going to start off with, as you can see on the screen, budget discussion item number 1, just an overview of the budget. The County Administrator gave you some brief points. I'm going to dive in a little deeper now. And just to lay out the rest of the day for you, as you see on the screen, as we've talked to you in the briefings, this is definitely our acronym workshop today. We have ARPA followed by ERA followed by ELI. And there will be a test to see if you all remember what those acronyms stand for. So diving into the budget itself, Vince gave a brief overview of the economy, but I want to remind the Commissioners back, of course, first quarter of 2020, we saw the largest and deepest recession we did since the Great Recession. And at that time, there was as we'd like to say, an alphabet soup of projected recoveries. We had a V projected, a deep dive and a deep recovery. We had a U where we'd come down to the bottom, kind of bottom out, go across for a period of time, and then come back out of the recession. And we also had this whole concept of a K recovery, where there'd be a disparity between businesses and employees, basically. Right now, as you all have read in the news and have been tracking, the economy has rebounded quickly. To some degree, there is that V going on, but a little bit of the K is definitely in the economy right now in terms of employment coming back a little slower than businesses have rebounded. And we're experiencing that here locally. Sales taxes have rebounded, but as you read in the materials and we briefed you in your overall briefings, our sales tax have not come back from pre-pandemic levels yet. We anticipate that hopefully occurring over the next year and a half, but right now we are still below in our sales taxes. On the other side of the recovery, of course, is our gas taxes and our tourism taxes are coming back more slowly. Our gas taxes still continue to see a declining trend, probably still due to the fact that a lot of people are working from home and the lingering effects of that. But again, we anticipate that coming back in the future. So with that as a brief overview, and that was the foundation which OMB went into projecting and forecasting revenues. On the screen, you heard from the administrator. I'm not going to go through all these again. These are some of the basic overview and highlights of the budget. But what I do want to spend some time on is the next couple of slides and dive in a little more detail. The first one is I want to spend a little time in talking about fund balance usage. And to avoid becoming too wonky and turn this into an accounting class, I want to explain again what fund balance is and what the appropriate use is per our policy. So we have fund balances, which are basically rainy day funds, our reserve accounts that we keep in the bank. And we have them for every one of our funds. And funds, commissioners, are just basically where we keep self-balanced sets of accounts. So for example, we have a building fund where all our building revenues go into, and they can only be spent to support the building program. In our EMS program, same thing. Our fees and our taxes for EMS stay in that fund. Each of our funds have their own reserve accounts. What we're talking about here today is our fund balances for our general revenue account, where we basically collect all our property taxes. And that's the one we go to when we're talking about the use of fund balance in the budget. This isn't to deal with all our special funds. This is just our overall fund, where the libraries, you're budgeted, the sheriff's budgeted, all of our overall operations. So as you can see from this chart, we went all the way back to 2010 to find the last time we were at this low a level of use of fund balance. And in our minds, it's a pretty big milestone. It's been over a decade since we've gotten down almost this low. And what this shows is back when the Great Recession hit, we started relying more on fund balance to balance our budget, where we peaked actually in 2013 at $5 million. Now, our policies allow for that. Our policies are written very directly to state that you have fund balances to deal with severe declines in revenue, one-time capital projects, emergencies, things in that nature. And they also provide us cash flow to make sure we can pay the bills before property taxes come in. And the rating agencies, the bonding agencies, clearly look at your financial strength on where your fund balances are. So when we're using fund balances, one-time money ostensibly, to fund recurring budgets, you have to be very thoughtful about how much you use. And we've, over the last decade, have been on a declining trend. So what we're recommending in this budget next year is our lowest level in over a decade. And clearly, the main reason we're able to do that is because of ARPA. We're able to put and use less of our fund balance because, as has been said, the federal government has come forward and said, not only are you going to be able to replace your revenue loss, we want you to spend it and use it. You cannot legally just put it in the bank and put it in a reserve and build up your reserves. You can't use it to reduce taxes. They want you to fund your programs and fund your capital projects, because that's one of the main things we do is build things. And they don't want you laying off employees because, as Vince said, after the last recession, the federal government made it very clear that they, in hindsight, wish they had pumped more money into the local and state governments, because we collectively became a drag on the national economic recovery, and it probably would have went faster, but for the fact that we were having hiring freezes, layoffs, et cetera. What you'll see on the screen are a couple of numbers, and we're going to get into this in much more detail when we get into the ARPA item. What we're recommending here is using about $2.8 million of our revenue loss to fund the operating budget, which again mitigates the need to raise taxes or use more fund balances, and also helps restore the hiring freeze, and also to shore up our capital program, recommending $3.6 million. When we get into the details of the ARPA item, you'll see we have more revenue losses, but we're going to talk about using them in the current year immediately.
Hey, Mr. Deputy County Administrator, real quickly, if you don't mind, on the slide previous to this, just to make sure that we're all very clear, you're not talking about fund balance, you're talking about the use of the fund balance.
Correct.
So, in other words, should this preliminary budget pass today, that means that we will be drawing $800,000 from the fund balance.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And by the way, if any other commissioners have questions as the presentation is going on, please feel free to let us know. Thank you.
So moving on, before I get into the details of the budget, and we talk about this in your materials, one thing that we do is we take a deliberate approach throughout the year to look at cost savings and cost avoidances. And you'll see in your materials that this year, again, we identified about $13.4 million in cost saving and cost avoidances, all from innovation of county staff to constantly looking at opportunities where we can save money through innovation and efficiencies. We do it. And we do that all before we come to the board and ask for a penny of any new revenue or expense. So taking a moment to slow down a little and just showing you a little more of the detail on the budget. I'm going to give you 2 slides right now, and these are there's one table in your budget on this, or your materials. The first one is our changes in our revenues. And what you'll see on the page, of course, is the first revenue stream we're forecasting next year. While we keep the millage rate constant, and in conversations with the property appraiser's office, we're projecting a 5% growth in property values, which generates about $7.5 million. This, again, is a slower growth than we had over the last year, and hopefully beginning next year, again, we're here this time next year, we're anticipating the growth rate to get back up to normal. But as you know, these values are 1 year old. These are as of December 30th last year. That's how property values are established, 1 year in the rears. The next line you'll see is our half cent or revenue sharing. This is indicative of that V-shaped recovery where we're having a little more growth in sales taxes. Again, that's a strong growth number, budget to budget, but it is still over $1 million less than we were pre-pandemic. So again, while the number's good, it's still not where it has been in the past. And the next line I just want to highlight again is that's where you see that ARPA money coming into play. We're using that $2.8 million to help offset the overall growth in the budget. And then the rest of the table is stuff we talked about already. So let me move on and just briefly hit on some of the major elements of the expenditure side. And we've aggregated some of the numbers in this table to fit it on the screen. You'll probably see a little more detail in your materials itself. But overall, we have about a $12.7 million expenditure projected growth in the budget. As we like to say, this is equivalent to our opening the doors analysis. We generally have, at this point, as the budget grows, about $12 to $14 million to basically just run county government with no new programs and services. In here, you'll see about $6 million in costs associated with the constitutional officers. Again, we're very supportive of their budget requests, but they are a large portion of that property tax revenue. If we're collecting $7.5 million in property taxes, about $6 million is going to support the constitutional officers. You'll then go down to the next line and you'll see the general growth related to retirement, to healthcare, restoring the hiring freeze of just governmental employees under the administrator. The next line down, we have interlocal agreements, and within that, of course, we have our CRA payments, which are about a growth of about $600,000. And then we have more detail further down the line. If we have questions later, we by all means can come back and talk about these further. One particular policy issue I wanted to spend a few minutes on that was in your materials because we're seeking board direction today as one of the options.
Excuse me, Alan?
Yes, sir.
Vice Chair Proctor had a question.
Okay, Alan, you're coming to the question that I had from the previous, I saw the 48,000. Can you go to the previous slide?
Yes, sir.
On the living wage, is this a calculation on the $13 or the $14?
The $13, sir.
Okay. Commissioners, I hold an interest in our stepping up and looking to see for our next meeting what would the $14 calculation look like if we were to implement that, and how much additional, unless staff has already looked at a $14 number. So I wanted to flag it, Mr. Chairman, for further discussion.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Proctor, we have, and that information is included in your materials, and we'd be happy to talk about that more.
Good. Commissioners, while we're looking at a $13 model, I want to recommend that we consider insert a $14 an hour living wage. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Proctor. Any other comments or questions from people on the board? Okay.
So on the living wage that the Commissioner Proctor just referenced, to remind the commissioners again, several years ago the board asked this to come back every year as part of your budget process. The board established several years ago a living wage of $12 an hour. And living wage is not a governmental defined term. Living wage actually is calculated by MIT through a living wage calculator. For the last several years, at this time, we've come to you and said the living wage calculator was still below $12 an hour. This year, MIT has gone back and they've revised their formula actually and added a number of additional expenses now. And the living wage for Leon County, they do the calculation on a county-specific basis, is $13.98, approximately $14 an hour. What the budget reflects in front of you today, as Commissioner Proctor just pointed out on the previous slide, is that the preliminary budget recommends implementing going to $13 an hour effective October 1st, 2021, next fiscal year, and then in the following fiscal year, getting to the $14 an hour. As the board knows, there was a constitutional amendment at the statewide level increasing the minimum wage over the next 5 years. That number won't get to $15 an hour to 2026. Our timeline anticipates that we would get to the $15 much quicker than the state number. And regarding Commissioner Proctor's specific question, the $14 an hour, as the administrator said, would be, the $14 an hour would be $188,000 total additional impact. I want to just take a few moments, Commissioners, and walk through just some of our comparative data. This basically just shows how closely we benchmark with other like-sized counties and how important this is a metric and how we're performing as a county. The most recent data, of course, was for the current fiscal year. As you'll see, for our total net budget compared to our like peers, we have the lowest net budget. If you then translate that into the net cost per county resident, we have the lowest there as well at $861 and goes all the way up to St. John's as $2,200. And then the last comparative piece of data is number of employees per thousand. We rank the second lowest compared to St. Lucie. To get close to wrapping up here, Commissioners, in terms of next steps, as we said, right now, the property values are based on preliminary conversations with the property appraiser. We'll get 2 formal numbers from the property appraiser as part of the budget process. We'll get the first official estimate on June 1st. June 8th, of course, we'll bring forward and seek the board's ratification of the actions you take here today. We then have your second budget workshop scheduled for June 22nd. We'll get final values from the property appraiser on July 1st. And then, of course, we'd have a ratification of that previous workshop. It's not reflected on the screen on July 13th. We have a tentative workshop scheduled that day. We don't anticipate that being needed, and we would just wrap up any last actions needed as part of an agenda item the night of the 13th, which would have the final values. Based on all of that guidance received up to that point, Commissioners, we have the 2 hearings scheduled for September 14th and 22nd. With that, Commissioners, we have a series of recommendations to present to you. Many of these we spent a considerable amount of time in your briefings on. One of them, of course, an additional one we wanted to just mention here today was option 4 regarding promotion. We had some commissioners discuss this during the briefings. This recommendation was merely to acknowledge that when we do internal promotions for employees, sometimes the way our formulas work, that it was not really incentivizing employees really to take advantage of internal promotions. So, for example, a career service employee, based on our formula, might be getting only a 60 cent an hour raise. We've made that rise to a minimum of at least basically $1 an hour if you're going to be promoted internally. That was to incentivize employees to continue to want to promote and move forward. So that was the intent of option 4. Everything else, Commissioners, are things we spoke about, I think, in detail in briefings. And with that, I'll turn it back to the Administrator.
Yes, thank you, Alan. And Commissioners, like I mentioned to you on your next item on the American Rescue Plan, you'll hear more than you ever wanted to know about the American Rescue Plan. We'll get into that, but for the budget purposes, and I know this is something that we addressed in your briefings, in utilization of that dollars. I just wanted to underscore something that Alan said when we talk about that 2.8 in the operating budget in particular, and the amount that we've allocated toward capital as well. It's not a balancing number, or it's not a plugged number. It's actually it's based on a revenue formula that the federal government has defined for us. It's actually pretty advanced math, and introduced a new concept which we shared with you, which was called counterfactual revenues, which again we had to go back and calculate to determine precisely what the federal government recognizes as our lost revenues. So again, just wanted to add that point there on that number in case you had any questions about that. As Alan mentioned, the recommendations for the overview are before you, and with the board's direction, Mr. Chairman, we'll go into our next items, but first let me hand it back to you to facilitate discussion by the board.
Great. Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. Any discussion? Commissioner Dozier, and then Vice Chair Proctor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I do believe Commissioner Proctor, Vice Chair, was ahead of me, so I don't mind passing it on.
Okay, Vice Chair Proctor.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Our staff presents to us a very clear, concise, and specific directions of which they have given us a balanced look prospectively at what we might implement for next year. I've stated that the $14 for living wage to me expresses a value of not just sentimentality, but objectively of what we would want a Leon. It does not give you a break because you're either red or blue. And this is why when we think about $188,000 in this year in particular, that we have received $62 million to assist the most vulnerable, that it makes sense to me that this is the year that this generosity from the federal government, Florida Housing Agencies giving us $11 million, that the recognition of those who are hurt, those who are injured, this is the year that this is occurring. And I think that we have an opportunity to advance beyond the speed of the state and the state's interest in rewarding workers. I've been a state employee and know that things like raises don't come frequently, and in particular based upon the philosophical ideas of those who are in charge. But we're not dominated with red hearts. We're not dominated by red thoughts. And I have a blue heart. By red thoughts. And I have a blue heart. I have a blue thought. And I have a blue idea about the value of those who work under the flag of Leon County. And our respect for who they are, what they do, their sacrifices, their efforts, and knowing at the end of the day that each week they have to go by Publix. We should help them to be able to go there and do a few more things with their grocery carts. And that's why for $188,000, I languish on this point. All of our administrators, this is not even, doesn't touch their salaries. Our senior administrators, $188,000. This covers about 2 of us commissioners' salary, $188,000. All the bigs in county government, we're not in this category. I'm pondering if we can see those in our organization who don't come close. So I'm striking and searching for our consensus that we can go ahead and signal to the staff we want to take care and start with $14 with MIT. What that word stand for, MIT? I know it's a lot of bright people, but a lot of bright people at a place called MIT have said that a living wage in America is $13.98. I can't calculate that good, so I just thought 14 would kind of round it up. So I take this time, and Commissioner Dozier, I yield the floor, but I wanted first to say, let us, with all of this free-flowing American money, let us remember the least of our members in our organization and care about what happens. So I don't know if a motion is, Mr. Chairman, is needed, but I would like to offer the motion for $14 as our living wage for next year, and that the $188,000 that we authorize staff to make those adjustments to make that satisfied. That's my motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Proctor. Is there a second on the motion? Yes, Commissioner Cummings.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
All right. Thank you very much, Commissioner Cummings. I've got in the speaker's queue Commissioner Jackson and Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you. Mr. Rosenzweig, where was the 1398 number obtained from? What? I know it's somewhere on page 20 of our items. Tell me where that came from again.
That's from MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They actually are the ones who define and create the living wage calculator. The 1398 is their calculation for Leon County specifically of what a living wage is.
Okay. And if I understood correct, or if I'm reading correctly, that would be an impact of $188,000 on the 2022 budget, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
And we're not speculating out beyond that, obviously, to a $15 an hour wage or anything. We're just saying for now, if we did the $14 an hour, it would be equitable to $188,000.
That is correct, and each year, based on previous board guidance, each year, at this point in the process, we bring that new calculation to you so that you have it to consider in that year.
Okay. That's what I needed.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. I've got to Commissioner Dozier and then Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sure we'll recognize this a few times today, but this is the first meeting in well over a year where we've been able to see most of our staff in person. So it is really good to see you all, not on Zoom or any of the other promotions. Mr. County Administrator, you have said it repeatedly this year that our staff, you said it in your intro, with all of the reductions, with all of the individual challenges that every person has faced, our staff has stepped up. So thank you all for what you've done, and all of the people who aren't here today. We've just, obviously we've got a lot of folks in the county family who are not in the chambers, but a lot more than normal. I do have a few questions. I'm going to hit a couple of highlights, just some things that I really appreciated. I mentioned one, it was one little paragraph, but the onboard ambulance battery system was a nice little catch. Lake Lafayette Management Plan, I've got, folks in the district asking about that. Hazardous waste program, that was a nice shift. I really appreciate that. I also know we've got folks from our human service agencies in the room, and partnership with UPHS, NE, COCA, United Way has been exceptional this year. And the work that our agencies have done in conjunction with our staff has just been phenomenal. So we've got an amazing team going into a year that we thought, quite frankly, would be a lot worse than it is. So coming back to that, Ms. County Administrator, you, Deputy County Administrator, Ms. Ross, everyone, to manage the stimulus funds in the last year, to push out as much of these resources into our community in the way that you all did has been extraordinary. And like we've talked about throughout the year, I think other counties have taken note and followed our lead as usual. So that's really a phenomenal way to start this year's budget. We're going to get into ARPA. I got it, Alan. In the next item, so I'll talk a little bit more about infrastructure at that time and a few other things. Fund balance, we talked about this in briefing. I wish Commissioner Maddox were here because he has locked into fund balance every single budget year for this is our 11th budget together. And I think on his behalf, I will say this is remarkable to get to the lowest level since 2010, which was before our first budget. So every budget, this is the lowest I've ever seen. And that is significant. A little wonky, yes, Alan, but significant. So the couple of things that really stood out to me, the living wage discussion, I'm willing to entertain a conversation about 14, but I think that would, from my perspective, require a bit of a deeper dive and looking at the impact on the wider budget. And it may be good to have a couple hours at another budget workshop to come back and really dig into that. I'm not sure, given the whole scope of the budget and what you all have laid out, that I would be ready to make that decision today and ratify at our next meeting. But I'm willing to certainly have that discussion and see the implications. Again, and I think I heard you correctly, we're trying not to use ARPA funding for reoccurring costs. So, Commissioner Proctor, I hear you, Mr. Vice Chair, but this would have to be a long-term shift, and advancing 1 year from 13 to 14, I could see that having a greater impact on the budget. Ms. County Administrator, if I'm wrong in that, let me know, but I think there would be more to unpack with other implications in our ongoing budget. Is that right?
Well, it could be, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Dozier, obviously, you make good points. But at this point in the budget process, given the relative size of the county budget and the impact of it, it's really more of a policy decision. And if you give us the direction to include, whatever your direction is today, should the motion pass, then we will include that. If it were to create any anomalies, we'd bring it back later in the budget process, but we would build off that in the development of the budget.
It's a better answer than I thought, so thank you very much. Just reflecting on past conversations about living wage, minimum wage increase, there was a time when we were asked to increase the minimum wage dramatically above what the state minimum wage was. And that difference between where we might be and where the rest of the community might be, or even if we were asked to take another step and implement a living wage for the whole county at a rate far above the state, that would have been kind of challenging for some of our businesses, I think, and perhaps our budget. We're now leading ahead of the state a few years, but they will catch up to us. So I think that helps us get a little more comfortable, at least helps me get a little more comfortable with this. So, Mr. Vice Chair, I am willing to entertain that. I'm really glad to see reflection on the HR policies and promotions. I mentioned this during briefing yesterday. This is something that when you introduced the policy, I think it was 2 years ago, perhaps 3, it was really hard to kind of wrap my mind around it because we're not looking at the specific impacts on anecdote, on employee X and what that means as they move up and in between different departments, as I know a lot of our staff does. I had some concerns at that time, and I think one of them might be the promotions and kind of we invest so much in our incredible staff. It is an asset for us to keep staff, and they're doing incredible work, so we want to, recognize that value. So I do like this change. I'm not sure if today is the right time to unpack it more, but I am really interested in looking at that policy a little bit deeper, finding out kind of what drove you to make this change. Do we have numbers? Do we see attrition? Do we see people not looking for promotions? Do we see people leaving the county? I think I just repeated that in 2 different ways, but this is one that I like the steps you're taking, but I really want to understand it more, and it might be helpful to reflect on the larger policy changes that we made a few years ago and kind of the whole scope of what you all were looking at with classifications. Am I remember that correctly, Mr. County Administrator? We changed classifications for jobs?
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Chair, I know there's a motion on the table, and then we'll get back to the item in general, but this is one I would like to come back to and see if, again, I don't know if it's today, but if we could dive deeper into that and get some other data back with this change and perhaps just understanding the whole scope. Would that be possible, Mr. County Administrator?
Absolutely, and especially if you had an interest from a policy standpoint to examine this, and I think in listening to you, this and other related issues and that sort of thing, but this one in particular is really relatively narrow in scope. You know what I mean? And this option 4 in particular is one that really comes from within the organizations, our managers and others in dealing with really one-on-one and individual hiring decision, promotion decision to give us information on why or why not employees may or may not be accepting promotions and that sort of thing, and the responses that they get back directly from the organization. And this is a policy revision that was brought to us through the great Candace Wilson and our HR staff to just kind of try to stay up with the times and update a little bit our policy in this area. So this one's pretty narrow, but you're right. You bring up other related issues that we're constantly looking at, and very happy to have more policy discussion about.
I understand this change is narrow, and that's why we don't have information about all of the changes that were made a few years ago. I think it would be good for us to do a check-in on those policies and Mr. County Administrator, you know I've said this to you before. I probably said it on the dais. This is one of the most interesting ones. We set some of these policies, but we hire you to manage the staff. And so we are not, and appropriately so, engaged with our staff in the same way and hearing these things. So, and we have to be sensitive to individual employee status and everything else. So it, you know, to get those anecdotes now, I think might be easier perhaps than it was several years ago when we reflected on this policy change. So just, Mr. Chair, I'd like to come back to that one after we dispense with the motion and see kind of how we want to position that going forward.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Dozier.
The last thing, just on this particular issue, and Commissioner Maddox, I'm glad you're here for this one, because I think over the years, we have often reflected on the fire service fee and the agreements with the city and the joint study. So it was good to kind of get the history here. 2009, we had the interlocal agreement and the joint rate study. I'm really glad that despite the $1.4 million increase, we can still cover it with debt service. But it absolutely sticks out that, if I read this correctly, in FY23, only $200,000 is available to cover that. So there would be an increase for our residents, our county residents, and in 2024, it could potentially be more depending on that rate study.
I think what we're trying to say, Commissioner, is in 2023, we still have debt service to cover it with no increase to the residents, because we had originally contemplated 1.6 coming from the debt service.
Okay.
So it incrementally would grow, but when we grow beyond that, then we'd have to start digging back into general revenue. So the recommendation is for the next several years, you should be covered. Do a rate study before that time runs out. And then the policy matter for the board would be, do you want to move forward with a rate increase or not, or continue to just pay for it through general revenue? But at least you'd have the information at that point.
So for FY22 and 23, we got it covered.
Correct.
I just misread that 200,000.
Yes,
and then this study would happen you're proposing in 23, FY23, and then the fees could go up in 24.
Or 25, whatever the policy
Or
matter of the
whenever.
board is. Correct.
Yes. I said could. Yes.
Commissioner
As
Dozier,
we lead
I'm sorry,
into
do you have another
that-
item to bring up?
This is the last one.
Okay.
As we lead into fire.
If I could ask you, there is a motion on the floor. If we can have the discussion focus on the motion on the floor first, and once the motion's been dispensed with, then then we can go ahead and open it up to the other items in the budget. As long as
Apologies, Mr. Chair. I thought we were talking about just general comments on the budget, so I launched right into that.
I understand. And yes, and
well,
after the motion's
yeah.
been dispensed with, then we can certainly do that.
Okay.
If you don't
Well,
mind.
then, not to repeat the fire service question in the future, the last quick statement on that was, I hope that we can find a way to understand the cost increases and the cost allocation at the city side when we go into the next joint study. This has been an issue for us for a long time, that we were kind of told what the cost increases might be, but we don't have a full accounting for that. And I think that, you know, to be fair to the county residents, we may not run the fire department, but we need to understand what those costs are so we can let them know. That is it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dozier. Appreciate it. Mr. County Administrator, just a couple questions related to the motion on the floor. For the folks that might be watching from home, the living wage is different depending on the community that you live in because of the cost of living, et cetera, et cetera. So when MIT says that the calculated living wage for Leon County is $13.98, that basically uses an algorithm that has been generally accepted, managed by MIT, for the rest of the country to use as a generally accepted standard of living wages.
That's correct.
So if we were to pass Vice Chair Proctor's motion to increase the living wage for Leon County employees to 14, that would exceed the living wage in Leon County by 2 cents, as calculated by MIT.
That's correct.
Okay. The most likely, so the budget gap that would need to be filled should Vice Chair Proctor's motion pass would be $188,000. The most, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I understand that Scott and his team would need to kind of go back and really take a look at this more carefully, but on the top of your head, that would most likely probably come from the general fund balance. Is that correct?
It would, as we mentioned, we have to preface everything by talking, mentioning how early we are in the budget development process. Again, we get a June number on revenue estimates and property tax values. We get a July number, and we're really refining throughout that. Again, as I mentioned to you, I really would impress upon the board that really, when we're talking about this, and we worry about the largest expenses and the very, very smallest. But given this, again, it's really much more of a policy direction that the board would have. We would bring you back a budget discussion item or ratification item following this workshop on June 8th. I would suspect even by that time we would have it figured out in terms of how it was to be paid for. Again, if there were any anomalies that we had in any of our calculations or our projections, we would identify that for the board at that time. But absent that, again, we would go with the board's direction and just make this a part of the building process of the budget.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. Next in the speaker's queue, I've got Commissioner Welch, followed by Cummings, Jackson, Proctor, and Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the living wage thing, would it be safe to say, Mr. County Administrator and Mr. Deputy County Administrator, we're calculating those property value increases based off, you said, in arrears at 5%. I would think that property values are going up at a much higher rate right now, given the real estate market that I see in the community. Is it safe to say that perhaps in the next budget cycle you'll have more funding available from the property tax portion of the revenue?
Commissioner, that we anticipate that, yes, it may be higher next year. And again, we're a little different than the rest of the state in that we don't have the super highs and the super lows that you've probably seen previous other recessions. And one of the main reasons, of course, is we don't have a considerable amount of non-homesteaded residential property. A lot of the other jurisdictions around the state where you see the big highs will have a lot of coastal community, a lot of non-homesteaded property. So one of the, I don't want to use the word drag, but one of the constraints on the growth in values is the fact that we have a safer homes cap. So while you're seeing all these crazy activities and growth and sales, people who are homesteaded, the value of their property, regardless of what happens in the marketplace, are capped on how much the value can go up by the state every year by an inflation rate. And for this year, that rate is 1.4%. Last year, when we had greater growth, it was at 2.4%. So as you said, we do anticipate the growth rate getting back hopefully a little higher next year. But again, it probably won't go up, a huge amount. If we get back above that 6%, that'd be great. But at this point, we don't have that great a crystal ball. So the 5% for this year is based, like you said, on last year's activity, but it's also being dragged down by some of the commercial activity being a little impacted by the pandemic.
Just to add to what Alan said, in Leon County, it is a little different. When we receive 4%, we're having a bad year. If we receive 6%, we're having a great year. In most other counties, they consider that flat. You know what I mean? That's not a variation at all. But for here, given how relatively stable our economy is, again, even with a great year, when you consider the homesteaded properties and the suppressed values and that sort of thing, it really doesn't translate into a significantly more revenues at the end of the day.
Or the reason I ask is in the context of this discussion about a living wage. I assume you guys built this budget to balance, and $188,000 extra would throw that out of whack. And I know that we've spoken to that amongst a few of us, and I just wanted to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible. I assume you built this budget with that in mind of being fiscally responsible. I think if you're telling us it's a policy decision for us to make, I just want to make sure that we're putting you guys in a posture that you can make that policy decision work. I mean, I get that it's recurring revenue, but it's a relatively small amount of recurring revenue. But I personally think I could benefit from a little more in-depth analysis of that before making a decision on this motion. I'm probably okay moving this motion ahead, but would you say at the next budget workshop, you said we'll have a ratification discussion about this motion, essentially, or is this policy position? At that time, would we get sort of a more detailed, granular analysis of like how many employees this impacts and where you guys could find the money and all that kind of stuff?
You know, we could probably, Commissioner, address some of that. It may be the right time to just talk a little bit more about that now. Again, as we balance, we don't anticipate this to be a major issue for us going forward. If this is what the board does, back when we first adopted the living wage, at that time, the living wage was the first year of the living wage calculator. It was $11. But the board at that time said we wanted to go to $12. And again, so we've anticipated, even in this budget, some variances that we could go to 13 this year, or the board may decide to go to 14 this year. And again, I think we've got the flex to be able to address that. But I've talked a little bit about that in responding to a couple of the initial questions, but I want to give Alan a shot at it, just in case, a little bit more detail here, Alan, on the overall impact organizationally.
So overall, Commissioners, the living wage will cross-cut through a lot of our funds. It's not just the general fund. So, for example, we do have, it would go into the building fund, it would go into the EMS fund, et cetera, which all have their own dedicated revenue. So, as we said right now, luckily, I think you'll even see the term probably throughout the document. We're very conservative in our revenue forecasting at this point in the process. Not to say that we would just wildly inflate numbers to make something balance, but we are constantly looking at our regression analyses. Every month we get additional actual information. Typically at this point in the process, these are our lowest revenue forecasts because we don't want to have to come back and say, oh, we have to cut something because we overshot. So overall, as the administrator said, we're at that point in the process, and typically, if there are some items the board wants us to consider, we will consider that and look at our overall revenue allocations as we move through the next month.
And so I believe it said we'll be well ahead of the $15 that the state requires before 2026, and I assume then we would probably want to exceed that at some point. So I just want to make sure that you guys are comfortable if we make a policy decision to move in that direction, that I know we kind of are in an unstable economic situation. I would assume, again, that you can make forecasts about whether we'll be doing better next year. I would assume so. I mean, I'm good with that, I guess. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Welch. I've got Commissioner Cummings, Commissioner Jackson, Vice Chair Proctor, and then Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first of all, I'd like to thank the county administrator and his staff for this enormous amount of material that's very helpful for those of us that are new commissioners. But I want to just ask a couple of practical questions. Given the enormity of the county and its overall staff and so many different departments, we've got so many professional individuals. And I would think from a practical standpoint that increasing the minimum wage would really impact a very minimal number of employees. Am I correct?
You are absolutely correct about that.
Do we have an estimate of the actual number of individuals that it would probably impact?
It would probably be somewhere between 150 at most.
Okay, so it's safe to say that the majority of the employees that work for the county already earn far above $14 an hour. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cummings. Commissioner Jackson, Vice Chair Proctor, Commissioner Maddox, and then Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, I can appreciate your motion, Commissioner Proctor, but I'm kind of in the space where Commissioner Welch is, and that is that bringing an item back at our next meeting that fully details exactly how that would impact. I do have, the other thing is great, Alan, they're finally going to give you $14 an hour, and I'm super excited about that.
There are exceptions.
Maybe. There was a compression number that was shared, like a $48,079 number. Is that included in the 188 total calculation?
No, the 48 is in addition to the 188. So the 48 you saw was going to the $13 an hour.
Okay.
The 188 is additive to that.
So, but you would come back with that number, obviously adjusted, if you were to present the $14 an hour thing. Okay. Yeah, I can't argue enough that the work that the county does is very deserving, and being this far ahead of the curve already, as far as the state is concerned, I would consider us kind of leading the pack, and just to be here and able to have this discussion at a time when we are so economically affected, but we do see that there is some brightness on the horizon. I'm excited to have that discussion, so thank you for all the work.
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Yes, Mr. County Administrator.
Just in an attempt to help the commission, I don't want to preempt any motion that may be on the table, but just in terms of facilitating the process going forward, this could be as simple as normally we bring you back a ratification item, and you all are very used to seeing those by now, which simply say all the actions that you took and to ratify those. There's nothing that says, and we've done this in the past, that our ratification item itself couldn't include an additional analysis, and we could go as deep as the board would like. That ratification item at your next meeting could include that analysis prior to the board taking that action of ratifying. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. And Vice Chair Proctor, just quick question. Your motion would coincide with what the County Administrator had just spoke about, correct? So your request for increasing the fiscal year 2022 minimum wage to 14 would coincide with that ratification item that would come back to us on June 8th. Is that correct?
Yeah, my motion actually sounded precisely as Commissioner Jackson articulated, that it was to bring it back to our next workshop and for it to be the replacement. That's the spirit of it. So Commissioner Jackson, you and I are on the exact same page, and that's what I was asking, as opposed to us riding out on 13. Let's see if we can limp, to 14 and see if we could crawl that far.
Vice Chair Proctor, in order to, the next point where we would actually make the decision would be June 8th, when we ratify items within this agenda item for this workshop. So if you say the next workshop, that'd be June 22nd, which is later. So you may want to have your motion, the intent of your motion might be to actually bring this back as an item for analysis at the June 8th meeting so that we can debate it, discuss it, and then ratify it along with the other items, should we wish to.
This staff, did y'all, they've been listening to me a long time. Y'all understood what I was saying?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I think they know me.
Okay. All right. Just want to get some clarification before we vote on the motion, because I want to make sure we all understand exactly what Vice Chair Proctor is stating. Thank you very much.
I think the spirit, the idea is to lift our ideas. We keep hearing the word philosophy, and that's what this is. Our staff is simply giving us numbers to reflect their common sense judgment about how functionally to reach a balanced budget. Our staff is not the commission, we are. And if we tear this sheet of paper up and burn it up and tell them to start all over because we want to see something else, that's exactly what they're going to do. I have no doubt, however, that to go from $13 to 14, 15, 17, wherever, this staff is capable of reflecting the will of this body. I've seen it over and over. So I have no doubts about them. I'm just hopeful for us. We got a hell of a staff. Ain't no doubt that it will come in here airtight. I mean, but let's use what we have. But the reflection is not their value, it's ours. This is a reflection on who we are. So the effort of us to find consensus in our will with, I was just looking at this page here, and just to see this graphic, everybody's seen it across the community, how much money and how much effort we have done. This is a priceless moment which we are actually swimming in money. Our staff has never come to this table from the posture that they are in. This county commission has never sat in its history at this nadir point. This is a zenith high point. Is that right, Vince? This is a hell of a moment that we're managing. In all the terms about we're in the fiscal challenging times. And these are tremendous moments that we have to cut back. And we've heard all of that. That's phooey. That's not where we are today. This is the one time in this county's life, and we may never see this day again, but this is the one time that we can will a dollar up from 13, and we have always, this board has never not marched with MIT's recommendation. So if and MIT is recommending a living wage at 13.98, and if we retreated from MIT recommendation, it would be the first time we've ever done that when we are drowning in money. So we're stepping on precedent that has well been established. And I'm asking us if we would, in heart, as well as our value, reflect the spirit of the great commissioners that we are. Our staff will make the adjustment if only we will show them what we want. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Proctor. Let me say something real quick before we go to the next speaker. I'm going to support your motion. I don't fault anyone here at the dais for taking a hard look at the fiscal implications of anything. I mean, this is a budget workshop. We're responsible for taxpayer dollars. So I don't fault anyone for wanting to dive more into details on this whatsoever. I support your motion because I know that the county staff is going to come back to us with an analysis of what you're describing. One thing to point out is that for fiscal year 23, we're expected to increase the minimum wage in the county to $14 anyway. So what we're talking about is $188,000 for this year, more than we would have expected for this year. But next year we're expected to go to 14 anyway. So it's not a forever increasing expectation. It's just a single year increase more than what we were projecting out. Understanding, though, of course, that the living wage calculated by MIT and others will increase over years because of the cost of living increasing. But putting that aside, I think it makes sense. So I'm going to support your motion, Vice Chair Proctor. Next, I have Commissioner Maddox and Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great conversation. It's actually surprising, but just before I say anything, I want to understand. Commissioner Proctor, your motion speaks to bringing back an analysis about what it would look like in a ratification. Doesn't speak to us approving going there right here today. Is that correct? I think that's what Commissioner Jackson said, was bring back the analysis and we make a final decision at the ratification.
Vice Chair Proctor.
That would be captured in the revised formula that they presented.
Okay. I came here fully ready to talk about what $15 an hour would look like, and that's, so.
I would have talked about $15 had you been here, but I pulled up because you player, you wasn't here, player.
I'm sure the rest of the commissioners are glad I was not here yet, because we ended up at 14. But here's the thing. So what is our largest expense as an organization, Mr. Administrator?
In the operating budget, it's personnel.
What is our largest asset as an organization?
Ditto.
Here's the thing. I mean, we're talking about 13 versus $14 an hour, 188,000 versus 48,000. But what we're really talking about, whether it's a small number or a large number, we're talking about the largest asset of this organization. Without the people that make that $13 or $14 an hour, we can't do what we do. How many times have we been up here during a hurricane and thanked staff and public works for the work that they do to make us look good? This is our opportunity to get ahead of the curve on making sure that they're able to not just make a living wage, but make $1 extra on the way to 15 that we got to be to by 2026. I don't think it's even much of a discussion. Do we have the money, Mr. Administrator, somewhere in our budget to go from 13 to 14? If we task you to do that, will you come back with something that will work for our budget this year?
Yes.
Why are we having this discussion?
Because you wasn't here.
Again, I was going to talk about 15. I'm pretty sure there's people glad I wasn't here. But I'll end with saying that I'm cool with bringing back the analysis for the ratification, because I think it shows that we're trying to be fiscally responsible, and we're showing our community that we don't just make a haphazard decision without knowing how much it's going to cost and what it's going to cost us. But I remember being here in 2010 2011 when we were in the midst of a recession and we were cutting things left and right. But one thing we didn't touch too much of was staff. Because back then we understood how important our staff was to us and how much of an asset it is. Let's have that same kind of understanding as we sit here today and we talk about 13 versus 14. If we're ahead of the curve next year, because we're supposed to go to 14 next year, who's to say next year when staff comes back, they say we stay steady at 14 on our way to 15. If we have a budget where we can actually move that to 15, then we go to 15. But right here today, I think it's a wise thing for us not just to even talk about analysis during ratification, but to tell staff that we fully intend to go to 14 to send a message to our employees who make just the living wage that they are part of the success of Leon County and they need to be rewarded for it in a big way, not just the minimum way of 13. So, and I think Commissioner Proctor said that the MIT analysis said 1398, correct? So it's what, 2 cents away. So it's not a huge jump to go from what the analysis is to 14. But I'm definitely not willing to go under the analysis to stay at 13. So that's where I am.
Commissioner, if I might,
Yes.
I think $14 equals something like, I think that's about $28,000 a year. So I mean, just to put it in concrete terms,
Right.
do we have a worker that's 20, and there are people who work under $28,000 a year. So I just want you to know that number.
Thank you, Vice Chair Proctor.
Which
Mr. Maddox, you can
articulates my
comment?
point even more. So when it comes back to the analysis, I think you guys know right now I'm going to support it. Even if we got to make some adjustments to other places, I think it's important for us to do that for our employees that work hard to make us look as good as we look and make that administrator look like he's absolutely amazing, the smartest guy on earth. So, Mr. Chair, those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. I've got Commissioner Dozier to wrap it up, and we'll vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I need to clarify one of my questions earlier. As Commissioner Maddox just said, the implications in the analysis that you've got in the item, it was $41,000 to raise it to $13 an hour and $188,000 to raise it to 14. And I have to appreciate Commissioner Cummings for reminding me of this. If in our early discussion back in 18, there are other implications. If we raise the salary to $14, there are others who have started their positions at a lower wage, whether it's $11, $12, or $12 or something like that, right? So am I correct in thinking there was an adjustment that was broader than that, and raising it would have a one-time, I mean, you're showing that dollar figure, but there are other budget implications that affect us over time. Could you help me with that a little bit?
Sure. And we'll do this now, and Alan can jump in and help me out here as well. But, you all are used to us by now. You would see us getting twitchy down here on stepping these things really help budgetarily. And so what you see before you doesn't get us too excited budgetarily going from a 13 to a 14 and doing that this year. Obviously, the recommendation we made was so it just smooths out that transition, because it does give you time for everybody in those positions above those positions or who make more to find separation over time. When you go too fast, too far, too fast, you tend to create some of those compression issues that would start getting us a little jumpy down here and that sort of thing. I think for where we are in the current discussion, we're fine and we can handle it. But I think you're right, Commissioner Dozier. When you do start to go too far, too fast on these things, you do run into some of those compression issues. But I think the discussion that you have before you now keeps that relatively contained.
Okay. That is very helpful. So that was kind of the other budget implications that were in my mind. And Mr. Chair, I promise I'm not going to digress into other subjects. I'll come back to it. But again, Commissioner Cummings, your point about a majority of our employees, good question on the 150 who may be at the minimum wage. That is really why the promotion policy and the other classifications for our employees really stood out to me, and why I would like to do a check-in on that, because there is the compression factor. I'll use county administrator's word, but we have a lot of folks that are not on minimum wage. So just raising that bar doesn't, I think, accomplish everything, the goals that we're kind of talking about with supporting our staff. So that's the broader conversation that we can come back to in a minute. So I can get there with the 14, but I wanted to make sure that the whole, that we're looking at this holistically for our staffing. And I've never made this comment to you, Mr. County Administrator, before, but every year we see these wonderful slides. We are the lowest in overall budget per resident. We're second lowest on staffing. Did I remember that correctly? That's been a point of pride for us, that we keep our budget really tight, we are fiscally responsible, and we provide a phenomenal level of service. But I got to tell you, if we were number 3 or number 4 or number 5 in staffing levels, with the level of service that we provide to our community, I'd be okay with that. There's 67 counties. I know we're not comparing all 67, it's like size, but I'm okay if we were to step that up to ensure that we have the right size staff for the service level that our community wants and we want to ensure. So again, that's just the holistic approach. I think the minimum wage is something critical, but want to think about it within the full scope. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dozier. We've got Commissioner Maddox to wrap it up, and then we'll vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In sincere and genuine fashion, what I was thinking initially, I'm wondering though if just to see what it would look like if staff would bring back.
We've got the number for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And you will see us starting to get twitchy on that number.
Okay.
Mr. Rosenzweig?
It's close to $600,000 if you went to $15 an hour.
Got it. All right. That's it, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. All right. Okay, no one's left in the speaker queue. So the motion made by Commissioner Proctor and seconded by Commissioner Cummings to bring back, to bring back a ratification item or an agenda item at the June 8th meeting. Just want to make sure we're very clear on what we're voting on.
Vince, what I said.
Yes, sir. We've got it. Again, the whole discussion that you've been having, I don't want to belabor this, but the whole discussion you've been having is, do you give us the direction now to include it going forward, which we will accept, or would you like additional analysis to be included in the ratification, at which time you can reassess where you are and, again, vote officially with that additional information? Either way works perfectly fine to us. It's just a matter of what the board's preference.
Mr. Chairman, I have heard enough from our staff to say that there is sufficiency to cover our going ahead at $14 now. That would be my motion.
Okay, so that would come back to June 8th as a ratification item.
Yes.
Okay. Just to make, I know I'm asking the question, but I want to be very clear on what everyone's going to be voting on. So this will come back as a ratification item on June 8th at our board meeting to increase the proposed $13 an hour minimum wage to $14 minimum wage for the county employees.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Madam County Attorney.
So that would be an amendment to option number 3, the agenda item,
4, wouldn't it be?
to change the amount from 13 to 14.
Oh, 3. It is 3. You're right. Correct. All those in favor of the motion as stated, made by Vice Chair Proctor, seconded by Commissioner Cummings, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 7-0. Thank you very much, Vice Chair Proctor. Okay. Any other motions on motions be entertained regarding the preliminary budget overview?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I did want to make comment outside of that motion to the broader issues that were presented.
All right, Vice Chair Proctor, go ahead, sir.
There was a $21,000 construction manager 2 over on page 20, table 3, and I was pondering, is this an increase in salary of $21,717? Facilities project coordinator, and I was curious about that, and it definitely jumps off the page for those increases that are suggested.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
that's a vacant position right now that's being reclassified to a higher need. So that just merely reflects what the market says the actual starting salary for the new position would be.
Okay, so each of these, this index is all of those positions that are being re-upped, they're being upped.
Correct.
Okay. What is the difference in that in the preliminary position changes? I'm looking at the county attorney's office, and those, are those being downgraded, or what's the differences here?
The two tables, commissioners, are really straightforward. The first table is merely where we have some addition and some deletions. So we have no net change in positions. That's what the first table you're looking at on table 2. Those are actual position deletions and additions. Again, there's no net changes. The next one is merely reclassifications of positions to reflect the higher need of the organization. Generally, those are vacant positions. So those are the two tables, the way we're looking at them.
It's really, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Proctor, it's really a reflection of our internal efforts. What you're seeing here is the result of that, whereas we may not simply accept new position requests from the departments. We get together and we really have at it, and we say, okay, if we've got an addition, where can we have a subtraction, or where can we combine or reclass, and that sort of thing, so we can end up in a net neutral position and give it, and sometimes we can and sometimes we can't, and we would make recommendations either way, but when we can, we like to make that recommendation to you.
Okay, and everything else is pretty much static from last year to this year as I've looked at these different tables. Some constitutional requests, in particular the sheriff, has increased, but so has crime. And I'm well satisfied with most of what I've looked at in this regard.
Thank you, Vice Chair Proctor. Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Dozier brought up an interesting point about us always being number one in showing fiscal responsibility when it comes to the number of staff we have. And I think that's an excellent point that you bring up. Versus in relation to the standard that we want to create for our citizens when it comes to what they expect as a product from Leon County. Mr. Administrator, the question I have for you is, it's good to be number one, but in Commissioner Dozier's thought pattern there, do you feel, I mean, I get the emails all the time. I know that our citizens are pleased with the level of service we produce for them. Is there room to push that a little bit further with more staffing? If it is, then is there a plan? Because I like the way you try to balance things. Whereas, okay, if we're going budget-wise, if we're going to add staff in another place, we kind of look at, okay, how can we balance that, be net neutral? Okay, but is there a plan for us to be fully staffed? I guess if you want to say it that way, that's probably not the way to say it. But when I look at the police department, when I look at the sheriff's office, and they add positions to make sure that they have more staff or adequate amount of staff, I think our employees, because they're so talented in our mantra is to do more with less. And when we were in that recession I was talking about, we really cut some positions that weren't filled, and I don't even know how many of those we filled on our way back to here. But we've made it our business to create the same or keep the same level of service with less employees working harder to do that. So what is your vision, let's say, the next 2 or 3 years in staffing wise? Do you see us needing to add positions to increase the level of service, to get back to where we were? What does that look like?
Sure.
In the philosophy of kind of what Commissioner Dozier was speaking of?
Appreciate it. First, before I answer that, can you assure me that no one is jumping out of their seats behind me? I just want to make sure that's the case. So, and to go to your point and what Commissioner Dozier raised, really something that I like taking this opportunity to talk about. We are not in a race to the bottom organizationally. We recognize, we talk about that all the time when we look at these metrics. It's just a comparative. Again, it's very hard to compare county to county, even like size counties. So you're relatively limited in your benchmarking, because counties that may be the exact same size can do dramatically different things in terms of in their communities, how they're structured and that sort of thing. We actually take a lot of pride in being lean. And it's not just something that happens during tough times. We maintain that during times that where we have some excesses. And what we really look at is need. If you look at our staff in any one of the departments, many, and it's pretty unique, we tend to be 2 or 3 people deep in just about any division, with some exceptions of our really large programs. As a result, our people get those few people get all the first-hand experience. We really grow tremendous professionals because of that. And, that creates a really strong organization and the people within the organization. But we look at our needs. So to answer your question, in certain divisions and departments, we do see that we are going to have growth needs. EMS is a perfect example where we are, I won't say struggling, but it's a difficulty, it's a challenge to maintain appropriate staffing levels based on demand. We started our system with about 12,000 calls. I think we're getting close to 3 times that at this point. And so that represents a challenge for us, and one that we're constantly looking at to make sure that we're maintaining the appropriate balance. And so, again, there may be places, and there are places in the organization where if you look down the road, we're going to need to expand. But we think we do it in a way that's really strategic. Mm-hmm. And again, it's something that we pride ourselves on, but it's not something that we artificially try to keep low, because at the same time, as you all know, we pride ourselves even more on the quality service that we deliver. So in any of our functional areas, we want to be setting the standard in that, whether you compare us to the biggest county with the most employees or the county with the fewest employees.
Thank you. I don't, and understand, I don't want us to have more than what we need, but I want to make sure you have what you need.
Sure.
Is there a way to, just like you guys you moved in the direction of forecasting budgets, multi-year budgets, which I think was absolutely amazing. I think we did 2 or 3 years ago. I think that was great. Is there a way to forecast those staffing needs so that we know year to year what that's going to look like for the following year? So when we so we're talking about the minimum, because I do think there's a balance in there. When you talk about the minimum living wage budget with, okay, how much do you anticipate us, how many folks in EMS do you anticipate us having to hire next year? There's a balancing there of, okay, budget-wise, how much you're going to grow personnel. So is there, and we may already be doing this, I don't know, but is there a way for us to, especially when we're having this, bring out a little more what the forecast is going to look like staffing-wise for us, let's say over the next 2 fiscal years?
We do that already, Commissioner, and it's not in these materials, but as we get deeper in the budget process. So with our capital projects, we identify the operating impacts as we bring the projects on board. So when we're expanding a park or we're adding on acreage that we're taking over from a blueprint project, we identify in the CIP when we anticipate needing additional staff and parks crews. You'll also see, as the administrator said, you'll see forecasts of when we anticipate needing to bring on half crews and full-time crews in EMS over the next 5 years. So we put it in the plan. It's not something we necessarily bring and create a big summary document for you, but if you look at individual capital projects, we have on every sheet an operating impact of when that project's complete, what the ongoing cost would be. So, for example, we might need, when we brought to the board, and we're going to use the right acronym here, the ARP, we identified the track and the different, bring on all the 600 acres. We knew we need more staff to maintain it. So we identified that in the CIP and we contemplated that in our forecast. So we already do that. We look out over the next 2, 3, 4 years and see what the additional needs are going to be based on call volume in EMS, growth in acreage, more lane miles for public works, and we identify what the crews and the staffing would be. Now, that being said, as we see in the current year budget, we were able to address Parks and Rec. We've been trying to add a crew for several years in the downturn of the economy because of all the additional acreage. But we were able to do that through the identification of some position deletions. If we couldn't have found the deletions, we would have been coming to the board and saying we need 3 new full-time positions. So we are adding staff where it's needed. This year in particular, we're able to do it through some other deletions where we had some efficiencies. We no longer needed those staff positions. So we do this regularly and consistently and bring it to the board.
I guess, maybe it's not something, I guess what I'm asking more of is it a way we can bring it out a little more to make it a little plain and holistic, so we're not just looking from department to department, but just Just like you put in the budget when you're going to add 3 here, there. You know what I'm saying? I get what you're saying. You put it in the CIP, but maybe a little, like you said, a little summary page, maybe not 4 or 5 years out, but maybe 2 years out of, okay, this is what we added. Like you said, we maybe bumped up some Parks and Rec this year, so that's going to take away from what we were looking to add next year. So maybe like a little small summary piece on the front end of the budget to be able to just catch a quick snapshot of what it looks like, even if you still implant that in the rest of the CIP and other descriptions.
Absolutely. We can highlight it in the personnel tables.
Thank you.
Find it.
Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. I've got Commissioner Dozier and then Vice Chair Proctor. Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've spent a long time on this, probably more time than I anticipated, but I'm really glad because Commissioner Maddox, I think we're drilling down into a lot of these issues that we see the highlights. So I support Commissioner Maddox's question on whether or not we could have a holistic kind of assessment of staffing. And I'm just going to add one thing to what you said, Commissioner Maddox, and Alan, listen to you. We absolutely do see anticipation for new staff with capital improvement projects. I mean, Appalachia Regional Park, St. Mark's is in this budget and others, and looking for strategies of where you don't need staff and then to support staff in a different department. That is a good approach. But if there were a time when we couldn't reshuffle the deck like that, we just need more staff, right? The maintenance issues is one thing. I mean, if you mentioned parks, thinking of public works and Parks and Rec and other facilities in general, that is the area where, and quite frankly, this stood out to me just with the high use of our parks in the last year, right? And every decision we make to say we want a new amenity at a park that was existing. I saw that smile, Alan. I know that's a new target park within a park. I mean, just using that example, it may not be a substantial new capital project that brings on a new park. It may be just increased level of service or maintenance and the use of our citizens of a park. On the other side, and this is going, I think, to the constitutionals budget, you all have done a tremendous amount of work on facilities for constitutionals, and I think we see a lot of that within this budget, and some suggestions of how I guess this is the courthouse, so that's us and constitutionals, but the facade, and being able to delay that. You're making some strategies on that end, and I think that is good. But we're seeing a lot of work on those facilities over the years as well. Does that demand more, even though it's not a new building? Just that those are the thoughts that you kind of brought to mind, Commissioner Maddox, in your line of questions. So, Mr. Chair, we've dispensed with the other motion. We don't have a motion on the table for the other items, and it seems like this is really where we're honing in. I haven't heard many questions on the others. So Mr. County Administrator, I'm going to look for some help here in digging into this, whether it is the staffing levels, but I think we've addressed that with your questions, but coming back to the changes in the promotion, the HR policy for promotions, and kind of the data or analysis of the change in classification for employees, the change of promotions over the last few years, recruitment. Where do we stand on recruitment? You often mention EMS. We see that, but frankly, since we've used social media more for those job postings, I'm more aware of it than ever. I'll see you all post the jobs out there, and people comment on it. I always send them back to staff, of course, but I'm not thinking that this is really something that we dive into during ratification. It seems like a separate agenda item to work through some of these issues and to see the data that you all have been reflecting on would be helpful. Does that sound like that's in the right posture?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, and Commissioner Dozier, I think so, and I think it works particularly well with the timing of where we are in the overall budget, so we bring it back as an agenda item soon. You still have time within your budget development process that if it raises any issues or flags, you still have time to address it, say, either prior to the June workshop or or if a July workshop is needed. So I think it works well. And we can bring it back as an agenda item and lay all the issues out there. And if there are any that are identified that have an impact on the budget, we still have time to address it.
So that would be for the next meeting, the June 8th?
We could. It could be the June 8th or the following. Yeah, and July meeting we still have as well. So we still have time in the budget process to identify any issues.
Okay, the timing is short, and you just mentioned the budget workshop and later in June, but the item does contemplate maybe not needing that budget workshop.
Right.
So recognizing the time it takes to turn around an item like this, I would rather not wait for July.
Sure.
So that would require some discussion later in June at a workshop.
Sure.
Yeah?
And I was just thinking, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, that in preparing the agenda item, we might provide recommendations and options that you may take as part of the agenda item, which will then just be included in the budget. So it depends on how significant the board determines the issues are and how much discussion you need outside the regular agenda item process.
Okay. Well, I'm not a fan of scheduling by committee, so I'm going to leave that decision to you, but I would like to see that agenda item before we get into kind of the final discussions in July. So if I've given you enough on that, I'll make a motion to bring back an agenda item as part of the budget process to look at the analysis of the promotions, what you all found in the internal data, the classification changes we made a few years ago, staffing levels and recruitment, and just kind of help us fill out this really good discussion that we've been having with some of that data.
Mr. Chairman, I would second that and ask if Commissioner Dozier would also allow us to look at the comparable classifications and how we measure against those 4 or 5 counties that we often index ourselves to.
I think that's a great point, Mr. County Administrator. That would be possible. I'm sure you're doing that comparison with other counties.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Dozier and seconded by Vice Chair Proctor.
Thank you.
Is anything else, Commissioner Dozier?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, ma'am. So there's a motion on the table. Next I have in the speaker's queue, I've got Vice Chair Proctor and then Commissioner Jackson.
Mr. Chairman, I'm comfortable if you want to dispose of the motion unless there's someone. I don't want to speak to the motion. I wanted to speak to options 5 and 6 that are still before us.
Okay, understood. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Jackson.
I was going to move remaining options when I press my button, so I'll just put myself in queue.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. See no other discussion on the motion at hand made by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Vice Chair Proctor. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 7-0. Commissioner Jackson.
I'm sorry,
I'd like to move the remaining options 1 and 2 and 4 through 7.
All right. Motion's been made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. Thank you very much. So there's a motion on the floor. One thing that, before we have discussion on the motion and then vote on it, Commissioner Jackson, I'd like to offer a friendly amendment for your consideration. Recent national studies show that 2/3 of low-income women cannot afford menstrual products. 1 in 5 girls miss school due to lack of access. In recent months, citizens here in Leon County, including the Commission on Status of Women and Girls, have done an excellent job, an incredible job, increasing public awareness of the issue. Commissioner Jackson, you may be well aware of this already within Leon County schools. The school board has accepted the policy change of putting dispensers for period products in all middle and high school bathrooms. And then the city of Tallahassee is planning to install free dispensers at female restrooms at City Hall and the community centers. The county administrator and his staff did a quick analysis of the cost of doing that here at Leon County facilities and determined it would take a cost of about $25,000 annually to provide period products at county facilities. I'd like to ask the board to consider a motion that would add this annual funding of period products at county facilities to the existing list of ratification items that will be presented at our June 8th meeting.
Second.
I'm sorry.
I need to have a motion first, please.
Do you have a motion on the table?
I second.
But it's a friendly amendment. That's right. You're right.
Yeah, I'll accept the friendly amendment.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. And then as the seconder of that motion, it was Commissioner Dozier. Would you second that?
I enthusiastically support it, and forgive me. I'm really glad a man made that motion. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Really appreciate it.
Vince, you wanted to say something?
No, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Dozier. Any discussion on the motion made with the friendly amendment? Yes, Commissioner Welch.
I just want to give a shout out to Arsha Harris, the student school board member who brought this to the school board as Childs High School senior. Phenomenal human being, and I think it's a great amendment.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Welch. And also, I also, there was a massive effort within this community to raise the public awareness of this issue and then make real change. And LaShawn Gordon, Catherine Register, and everyone else at the Commission on Status of Women and Girls, my wife, Jessica Minor, Amanda Wander of the Big Bend Continuum of Care, Courtney Thomas at the Mayor's Office, the Leon County School students, as you mentioned, and school board member Roseanne Wood were really instrumental in making this happen. And then also, my chief of staff, Jody Wilkoff, was a quiet but formidable force behind the scenes, really pushing a lot of this forward. So I give tremendous credit to our rock star in the Commissioner's Aides offices, Jody Wilkoff. So thank you, Jody, for everything. This is real change that we're making. So, and any other discussion on the motion at hand with the friendly amendment? Vice Chair Proctor.
Where are we with the motion? Is it stacked? Is 5 and 6 on the floor? Is the motion by Commissioner?
There's a motion for made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Dozier for options 1 and 2, and then 4 through 7 as stated in the agenda item.
And we've already voted for Commissioner Cummings' motion.
You mean the friendly amendment that Commissioner Cummings' motion?
Has that already been resolved? The Cummings motion?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So what I had on items 5 and 6, and Mr. Chairman, we thank you for your patience this morning. We get a chance to gnaw on this bone again, of course, but this is just the initial state of where we are. The 800 megahertz radio situation, and Commissioner Dozier, I don't want to get the hornet's nest started or anything, but walk with me a little bit. And thank you for the disclosure, even in the notes, we're anticipating to not have to replace radios until 2023. And this was a big to do. Can you tell us a little reason on why? And I'm hoping there's something technological that's driving the train other than the abuse of grown people tearing up equipment. What else makes our need for these radios sooner than 2023?
Commissioner, there's actually several reasons. One is a technology reason. The radios do provide a better and a safer radio itself, and that's been a high priority need of the Sheriff's Office as well as TPD. The new technology does provide a number of features that they'd like to implement immediately. And as you said, the other main issue is not that they're beating up and destroying the radios, it's the parts are no longer available. We did go out and capitalize and buy as much used parts as we could to keep it going as long as we could, but that's coming to an end.
Okay, I was hoping for something like that, because take my phone, for instance, I'm told that there are certain things I can't because this is an Android, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but it could be from the moon, but it's an Android. You know, I thought it was a meteor. So our need to expedite on these is that a lot of, and just this week, Xfinity indicates that one of my television boxes can't receive and function at a certain level, and just out of nowhere, it's just obsolete. And I think that we need a contract. And County Attorney, I'm asking you to walk with me, and Commissioner Dozier, I need you too. There's something about the speed with which these devices, we pay all of this contemporary money, and we need something in the contract against, I won't say against, but the obsolescence of just that it just don't count no more. Why are we paying millions of dollars, and then companies change the gadget team, and then it makes us pay millions of more dollars when they promised that it would go to 2023? That's like they get to pick our pockets, knowing we can't function and carry all of the frequencies of different FAMU, FSU, TPD, the sheriff. We can't carry them when they just tweak. And they already, when we buy this one, they were sitting around the corner waiting 2 years from now to come back and pick our pockets. It ought to be some language in the contract that when they come in before 4 or 5 years, that we don't owe no more money for them modifying stuff, that they can help when we were promised we was going to 2023 with this stuff. I'm asking the county attorney, can you think up something? Commissioner Cummings, some language that y'all can think up some stuff. This is not fair to us to buy outstanding brand new equipment and it don't mean a thing in 3 years. That's just wrong. And with technology and Xfinity or Comcast, able to switch stuff up on people and then make you come out your pocket if you want to stay in the game and pay them $15 more a month. It's almost a bribery because you can't use what you paid for. And what do you do against that? And that is a posture not only for the individual members of this community, when they turn off your box or say your box don't work. Well, when I bought it, we're still a TV, the same thing on the TV screen, but you can't make it come on. That's what is occurring in this particular item on number, number 5, on these 800 megahertz. The 800 megahertz that we have bargained for is not the 800 megahertz that has continually provided the services which they said would be ours to have. This is why we need some technology and language that protects our pockets when they get ready to tweak stuff. And what they promise it would do, it don't do that long. That's the problem here. So I wanted to lift that up and ask, as we're going to the market, commissioners, I think we need some language modification in the contract that we're not just subject to when they say it don't work no more, you need to do this. That's what we're doing. Then finally, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your patience with us. On the adopted agencies outside, look, tell North Florida Legal Services I love them to death, and they should know it, and I'm sending them the I love you message. I'm very proud of what we've done there, but I do believe, commissioners, that the Tallahassee Senior Citizens Foundation, and I'm sort of coming down your lane, we're at 179 with the Senior Citizens Foundation, and I'm willing, be honest, I'm willing to take 21 from Legal Services in North Florida, because is that a 100% increase we're doing there for them, Alan? What was the previous?
Are you talking about the additional funding through ARPA?
Yeah. Would the seniors qualify? They wouldn't qualify for that, would they?
No, not for the ARPA money, no, sir.
Okay. I withdraw my comments on that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Any other speakers in the queue? I don't have anyone right now. Anyone else want to talk or discuss the motion at hand? Seeing none. So seeing no other speakers in the queue, we'll go ahead and vote on the motion. The motion was made for options 1 and 2, as well as options 4 through 7. As stated in the agenda packet, made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Dozier, with the friendly amendment that we talked about earlier. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 6-0, with Commissioner Jackson out of chambers.
Mr. Chairman, could I make one acknowledgement, please?
Yes, Vice Chair Proctor.
From time to time, we're occasioned by the presence of some of our public officials, and I wanted to note that Ms. Claudia Blackburn, our Leon County Health Director, is here. Claudia, you can just wave your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. They used to say that at parties. Nick's organization, his fraternity used to. Y'all still say that? Okay, just wave them in the air and wave them like you just don't care. I want to give a sweet shout out to Claudia Blackburn and recognize the phenomenal work. She's been in the trenches, and their organization has just done phenomenal work. And I wanted to give you a shout out from me to you, Claudia. God bless you. Keep your staff during this COVID fight. in the modifications, and so many policies that we're having, and they're trying to keep up. And I just wanted to make sure that we knew. We always see her on Zoom, and but to see her face to face is just like, there she is right there, right over there. That's her right over the blue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Proctor. Listen, on the motion that we just passed, I just want to say a couple quick things. I really want to thank the county administrator, deputy county administrator, Scott, and the entire county staff that have been working on this. We all know, but this is a year-long process. As soon as they get done with one budget being finalized, they start up on working on the next fiscal year. It's just, I used to teach courses at FSU and TCC. And the students would see 1 hour of a presentation that I would give them for every class day. But leading up to that hour was at least 8 hours of work of prep time, working on the material, putting together the structure of what I was going to say and all that. That's a good metaphor for what everything that we've seen so far during this workshop is about. The negotiations that take place with the constitutional officers, the work that you do reaching out to the departments to get their initial budgets, their expectations and their estimates. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of work that comes into the agenda packet that we see today. I just want to thank all of you for doing that. This is a tremendous piece of work. We're living in very uncertain times, but with you all and the rest of the county staff, this is one of the best county governments in the state of Florida. We often say that. I hope it doesn't lose its impact by saying that, but it's absolutely true. I believe that with every bit of me. And if you go to Florida Association of Counties and talk with other commissioners of other counties, not to name any names, but we've got it really good here. And when you talk with other counties around the state, that becomes very clear. So thank you to all of you.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you're right. And if somebody objects or have any questions about what the chairman has said, let me hear what county you think is better than ours. Go ahead. Just go ahead and call it. County attorney, you think we got anybody better than our county? Nick, you think anybody better? You've been the president. So you're absolutely right. There ain't no county better than Leon County. Amen.
There you go, Vice Chair Proctor. All right. Now, we do have a lunch break set for 11:30. So what I'd recommend, do you need to take a break? What I recommend is let's go through at least another agenda item and see how that goes. We may not actually finish up and come to a vote within 30 minutes, but let's see how we go. So with that, Mr. County Administrator, please introduce the next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I'd like to ask for this next item. This is your proposed expenditure plan for the ARPA funds. I'd like to ask our team to come up to the table. Team members, you know who you are. I should say a representation of the overall team, again, who have been working on this item. As I mentioned, Commissioners, this has been a county-wide effort to get to this point. Let me just say,
Vince, real quick, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Maddox.
This item, we're probably going to dig into pretty good. If we can, I'm thinking, can we make a quick agenda modification? Because you said lunch is at 11:30?
Yes, sir.
Can we make a quick agenda modification to go to item 4? Or would that mess up the flow of what you're trying to do?
These items, they do kind of build on one another.
Okay. Well, then just know I don't want us to rush through this because this is
absolutely.
So take the time that you need to get through this, and if we have to come back after lunch,
It'd be like watching Return of the Jedi before A New Hope. I think. Sorry, I had to put that in there. Mr. County Administrator.
Thank you. You don't know how true that is. You just wait. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, again, this item, and I'll pick on Commissioner Dozier. She's going to love the level of deep that we're prepared to go to on this item. Again, it's very involved, as I mentioned, much like CARES last year. These are among the most important and really intricate items that we've dealt with as county staff, and I know the Commission as well. The item before you, Commissioners, seeks your consideration of the proposed expenditure plan for Leon County's allocation of $57 million in ARPA funding. As you know, Commissioners, the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has significantly impacted lives and livelihoods of people throughout the world, and of course, here in our community. In addition to the public health and safety threats of COVID-19, impacts of the pandemic to local businesses, to citizens, and their ability to meet basic needs and living expenses due to layoffs and furloughs and reductions of work hours. In response to these impacts, Commissioners, Congress has provided an unprecedented level of financial support over the past year to address immediate economic impacts of the pandemic. This includes several $1 trillion, Commissioners, in support for a variety of public health, human services, and economic recovery needs for businesses, individuals, and families. In 2020, Leon County, as you well know, Commissioners, successfully leveraged $62.2 million in federal funding under the CARES Act to support a broad range of needs in our community through our Leon Cares Plan. Several of the assistance programs authorized by Congress over the past years continue to be implemented by state and local governments, including Leon County. Here in Leon County, we continue working today to implement several of these programs, including our Leon County Emergency Rental Assistance, or ERA, program, Part 1. Leon County's CARES funded pop-up vaccination clinics, vaccine outreach to targeted populations, and much more, all based on the direction of this board. Also, the next item on today's budget workshop agenda, Commissioners, seeks your approval of $7 million in additional federal funding for another round of rent and utility assistance for low-income households. In March of this year, Commissioners, Congress passed the latest major COVID-19 legislation in the American Rescue Plan, which provided another $1.9 trillion to address ongoing public health needs and to stimulate the economic recovery. This, Commissioners, includes additional rent, mortgage, and utility assistance for low-income households, food and nutrition assistance, grants for child care assistance, additional federal unemployment assistance, a third round of direct stimulus payments, additional targeted assistance for small businesses impacted by the pandemic, additional funding for testing and vaccines, and more. The ARPA plan also established, and that is in addition to the $360 billion program that came and is being passed down to local governments to help state and local governments offset increased expenditures, to recover lost revenues, and to mitigate the negative economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. As I mentioned, Commissioners, just a moment ago, Leon County will receive an allocation of $57 million. Importantly, again, this legislation is the first that has been authorized by Congress that intends and allows government entities to recover revenue lost due to the pandemic. In fact, the Treasury has specifically highlighted the importance of using these funds to mitigate severe revenue losses, noting that state and local government austerity measures constrained our economic recoveries in the past, including during the Great Recession, as we've mentioned. Since Congress passed the American Rescue Plan in March, we have been evaluating, Commissioners, the statutory requirements of the bill, as well as the guidance issued by the U.S. Treasury on the eligible use of these funds. At the same time, we've worked with FAC, with NACO, and with several other counties in Florida to share information and best practices. You'll also, as you'll hear in today's presentation, we've coordinated extensively with our local healthcare providers, our local human services providers, our nonprofit and business communities to identify remaining recovery needs, needs that remain after the infusion and the distribution of dollars related to CARES, and any funding gaps which may be able to be addressed by this ARPA funding. The recommended funding allocations that are before you, included in this plan, reflect those findings and reflect that feedback from our partners. Commissioners, the proposed expenditure plan before you presents a series of recommended funding categories which are consistent with the eligible uses of the funds and based upon the input, again, received from our partners about the community's remaining recovery needs. The plan to support the community's economic recovery includes mitigating significant revenue impacts, again, incurred by the county as a result of the pandemic. It also identifies and provides funding to address community-specific remaining recovery needs in the area of nonprofit and human services, public health support, and targeted support for local businesses, and by leveraging local and state funding to complete major wastewater infrastructure projects, which have been impacted by a significant recent increase in construction costs. Commissioners, as you see in the budget discussion item, and I'm happy to say, the plan before you also contemplates a partnership with the City of Tallahassee to jointly fund several of these community programs and initiatives on a county-wide basis. That I think is very big, and I want to thank my colleague, the City Manager Reese Goad, and all the city staff in the cooperation that we've had to this point. Everybody around the table has had extensive interactions with their colleagues, and I think that's really an important element of this plan. As you'll see, Commissioners, we have several of our staff seated around the table, and I'm going to hand it off to them in just a moment to provide more details about the specific recommendations of the plan. Andy Johnson and Nikki Payden will provide a summary of the ARPA Act and previous COVID-19 legislation. Alan and Ken and Shinkton and Wanda and Christina Paredes will discuss specific areas related to the plan. And of course, Matt's just here to make us look good. I was wondering, before I hand it off to staff, Commissioners, I cannot say enough about the level of effort, again, that's been poured into developing the proposed expenditure plan before you. Again, it has taken a whole of government effort. I want to recognize the efforts of our partners in healthcare, human services, and the local nonprofits, in the business communities, all of whom have provided extremely valuable feedback for us on how to best utilize these funds to meet the community's needs. Like the Leon Cares plan last year, the plan before you is structured in a way that allows us to quickly distribute this funding for assistance. And by mitigating the severe impacts of revenue losses resulting from the pandemic, the plan will help us maintain a balanced budget over the next several years so that the total offset of the revenue loss does not have to be made up through tax increases or through the cutting of services and budget reductions. Again, that's a very important aspect here. Finally, looking forward, the plan also allows us to anticipate future needs related to COVID-19 or any changes that may take place in the federal guidance regarding the use of these funds, for which we will, of course, seek any future direction from this board. With that, Commissioners, I'd like to hand it off to Andy to kick off the rest of the presentation. And again, Commissioners, don't hesitate to interrupt us in the course of this if you have any questions. Andy?
Thank you, Vince, and good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Good to see you all in person. As the County Administrator said, I'll kick off the presentation on this item with a summary of the major federal COVID-19 legislation that Congress has passed over the last year or so, as well as a brief overview of the American Rescue Plan Act and what's included in it. Earlier this morning, you heard the County Administrator summarize some of the major actions that the federal government and Congress have taken to support the economy throughout the pandemic. So I won't spend too much time on this first slide, but there are a few important details here that I do want to highlight. First, Commissioners, as you'll probably recall from your COVID updates and previous agenda items over the past year or so, in 2020, we collectively developed a pretty effective shorthand way of talking about all of the COVID-related legislation that was circulating in Congress and what you see on the slide here. And starting in March of last year, we were talking about the different phases, and I put that in quotes, of COVID-related legislation. So as an example, rather than saying FFCRA or Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which I dare anyone to say 5 times fast, for example, it became a lot easier just to call it the Phase 2 bill or the Phase 3 bill, particularly early on. So with that said, the slide that you'll see on this screen shows a timeline of the major phases of federal legislation related to COVID-19. As you'll see, starting off in March 2020, Congress quickly passed the first 3 of these bills. These first 3 phases, 1, 2, and 3, as you see on the slide, provided about $2.5 trillion combined to support the initial public health response, as well as to provide immediate resources and financial assistance to help individuals, families, and businesses. The most significant of these initial bills, of course, was the CARES Act, which you'll see listed on this slide as the Phase 3 legislation. And Alan will cover that a little bit more in more detail in just a moment. Moving on to the Phase 3.5 legislation Congress passed in April. This bill provided about another $500 billion for additional paycheck protection loans, as well as public health and healthcare resources. At the time, this was called the Phase 3.5 legislation because Congress was negotiating a Phase 4 bill that was expected to be done over the summer. You may recall some of the previous updates last year referencing the HEROES Act and the SMART Act, both of which would have included funding for local governments to offset lost revenues due to the pandemic. But as you may recall, Congress wasn't able to ultimately agree on that bill before the August recess of last year, so negotiations on that next package picked back up in the fall. But as you'll see on the slide, Congress did come back in December with another $900 billion or so COVID response and relief bill that was tied to a supplemental appropriations package, which included briefly the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which we are currently in the process of implementing in Leon County, a second round of direct stimulus payments, food, nutrition, and child care assistance, additional paycheck protection loans, and other small business assistance, and more. And then also in addition, I want to note, in addition to our Leon County Emergency Rental Assistance Program, the state of Florida has also recently launched its own rent and utility assistance program using its share of funding under that December Phase 4 legislation. And you'll hear more about that program during item 3 on this morning's agenda. And finally, of course, Commissioners, Congress passed the American Rescue Plan Act in March of this year, the Phase 5 legislation on this slide, which I'll talk about more in just a moment. But in total, 6 pieces of legislation you see on this slide add up to a quick calculation about $5.7 trillion in total combined response and recovery assistance related to COVID. Interesting fact here, as a quick point of reference, in fiscal year 2019, the federal government spent a total of about $4.5 trillion across all governmental categories. So, Alan, if you can advance this slide for me. As I mentioned, Commissioners, Congress passed the American Rescue Plan Act in March of this year, which provided another $1.9 trillion to support the nation's economic recovery. In the interest of time, I'll spare everyone a full reading of the bill unless anybody wants it. But just as a quick summary, the bill provided additional rounds of funding for rent and utility assistance for low-income households, a new program to provide mortgage and utility assistance to low-income homeowners, again, food and nutrition assistance, funding for testing, vaccines, and therapeutics, child care assistance, federal unemployment assistance, a third round of direct stimulus payments, additional grant and loan programs for small businesses, and of course, funding for state and local governments to mitigate the impacts of the pandemic, as you heard earlier this morning. And I will note also that if you are curious, attachment number 3 to your budget discussion item is a detailed analysis from Squire Patton Boggs that covers everything that's included, soup to nuts, in the American Rescue Plan Act. Slide, please, Alan. Thank you. Commissioners, this slide focuses specifically on the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funding that was included in the American Rescue Plan Act, which, of course, is the subject of this budget discussion item. As you'll see on the slide, the bill provided an allocation of $360 billion to state, local, and tribal governments to offset increased expenditures, recover lost revenues, and mitigate the negative economic effects of the pandemic. This included $65 billion specifically allocated to county governments, and that was allocated based on each county's population proportion nationwide. I'll spare you the nitty-gritty details, but based on the funding formula in the bill, Leon County's allocation is $57 million, as the county administrator mentioned. The county will receive its allocation in 2 equal tranches, with the first half up front. That payment is currently in process from the Treasury, and the second half will arrive around the same time next year. And as you can see on the slide here, the deadline to obligate these funds is December 31 of 2024. I will also note, as you'll see on the slide, City of Tallahassee is also receiving a separate allocation of about $46 million, which the county administrator mentioned briefly a moment ago, and you'll hear more about later in this presentation. And Commissioners, before I hand it over to Alan for the next few slides, I mentioned that the city is receiving a direct funding allocation. The state of Florida is receiving a separate allocation as well. Your end of session legislative report that will come back to you at the June 8th meeting will certainly include more details about this as it relates to the state budget overall, but I did want to highlight for today's discussion that as you may recall from capital updates, the legislature allocated $500 million of its share of funding under this pot of funding under the ARPA to support specifically septic to sewer infrastructure projects. and that ties into one of the recommended funding categories in the expenditure plan before you, which again you'll hear about in just a moment. So with that, Commissioners, quick summary of the legislative history here, and I'll hand it off to Alan for the next section.
So Commissioners, moving on, and before we get into the actual ARPA, we want to pause for a second and talk a little bit about CARES. And again, you've all seen the chart I think Commissioner Proctor held up before. What's important to remember about CARES, CARES was the necessary support at that time. It provided individual assistance and business assistance, basic food, shelter, while we were responding to the emergency. And at that point in time, of course, you can see the numbers. It was very critical to the federal government and then the money we got through CARES. We stood up all those programs to deal with the emergency that was evolving right before our eyes. And you can see the level and the magnitude of what we did. 4,900 individual homes for $11.4 million, $18.1 million to 930 businesses, $4 million to support meals, 3.4 million meals, over $4.4 million to support 300 human service and nonprofits, and millions in public health. Again, at that point in time, that was the appropriate response to provide when people were needing basic food, shelter, and assistance to keep businesses afloat. And that's very important as we transition now to our ARPA funding. So I'm going to start by talking about a little of how, of how we got to the recommendations we got here today. So as you see on the slide, we have a series of bullets, and the administrator alluded to some of this, but this is important to understand what we came up with and why. So first, as Andy just alluded to, and there's pages and pages in your agenda item, the federal government, in addition to what we did through CARES, in addition to what they did through the previous effort, is providing billions, literally, in new assistance through this current round of funding. You'll see throughout, there's, as Andy said, direct mortgage assistance coming from the federal government. There's a $27 billion restaurant relief program going on that Christina could talk about if need be. But there is lots of individual and business assistance coming directly from the federal government, stimulus checks, unemployment, et cetera. So we are now moving, of course, into the recovery phase. And in addition to all of the assistance the federal government's doing, we here locally through the ERA program are also providing literally millions in individual assistance here locally. Right now, we've produced, we're going to service thousands of individual homes and landlords. We have $15 million between our two programs that we'll be putting on the street. And on top of that, as Andy said, and Shinkton can talk more about, the state is running a similar program statewide right now. They have $800 million in their ERA program, and they have another $700 million coming on top of that for ERA 2. So again, there's a lot of individual and business assistance that is going on. So in developing our program, we took in consideration everything you just heard. We then met extensively with all of our community partners to identify what are the remaining gaps. What is not being funded through the billions you just identified? What are they not getting directly? Many of our partners are getting direct funds from the federal government through the state government down to them. So what you'll see here today, in addition to taking care of our needs through revenue loss, are what we would term the gaps in the community based on what the federal government's doing, what the individual entities get, and therefore that's what we're recommending filling in based on what we in the city would be able to put towards those programs. Last, but just a very small note, we want to make the board aware that while programs are going to continue to be funded through ARPA, we are going to continue to lose our Leon Cares brand. It's very important. It's been highly successful for us when we marketed our ERA program. We did not rebrand it as an ERA program. We left it under the Leon Cares program. So while you're going to see that term going forward, these programs are being funded through ARPA. So we don't want the board to confuse that, oh, is CARES, you're talking about old money? No, it's still the new money, but we're just using our common brand. With that, Commissioners, I want to transition, and then we're going to go around the table here in a minute, and everybody's going to talk about different aspects of the program. What you see on the table there before you is the results of the cap analysis and the overall structure of the revenues we're recommending. So the $57.5 million, $57 million, you'll see the table broken out there, and then we'll go through each one individually here. So let me start off with the revenue loss mitigation. And as I get my slide to advance, there we go. So the revenue loss mitigation, Commissioners, as the administrator said up front, and Andy said it, and you're going to hear it from me repeatedly, is that the Treasury's been very clear, and the federal government's been very clear. They want us to spend this money. They have no intention for local governments to become a drag on the economy, the national economy, and the recovery. And while we're not going to get into all the specific formulas and calculations, as the administrator alluded to early on, there are very specific calculations we have to use in calculating revenue loss. So for our purposes in calculating revenue loss, we've identified for fiscal year 2020, last year's losses, and what we think we're going to lose in the current year, 21, about $20.6 million. And I'll show you a table alluding to this all in a second. In addition to that, as Blueprint, intergovernmental agency, does not get any direct funding from the federal government. They're not a state or a county or a city government. The city manager and county administrator are recommending that the city and county jointly take care of Blueprint sales tax shortfalls as well. What you see on the screen before you, the 4.9 million would be the county share. The city would put in a like amount based on the revenue split. And what we're talking about, the percentage split, it's merely based on the fact that we're getting 57 million, the city's getting 46 million. We just created a percentage based on that. Very simple, seemed fairly equitable. So in summary, what you see in front of you is for the fiscal year 2022 budget, and that's based on the 2020 lost revenue. We are anticipating about $11.3 million that we would be applying through the budget, and I'm going to talk about many of the recommended uses of it, about 2.5 going to Blueprint. For the 2023 budget, this time next year when we're sitting here, we're projecting at this point $9.4 million for the county and about $2.4 million for Blueprint. Again, those numbers will be finalized before next cycle, but that's our forecast at this point in time. And as we'll talk about later, the federal government is also allowing, you can go out yet another year into fiscal year 2024 to take in consideration losses you might incur in 2022. So basically we have a couple year lag as the actuals come in to shore up whatever budget process we're in. And we'll talk about more of that at the end when we talk about the reserve and replenishment account. So for the use of these funds, as we advance slides, there we go. I touched on this briefly as we started. So there's two aspects of the $11.28 million. First is, as you saw in the budget process, what we are recommending to use to develop the fiscal year 2022 budget. We have the $2.8 million we're recommending using the operating budget. As we talked about previously, this of course helped us negate the need to recommend any fees or property and tax increases to the board. We're able to reduce the use of our fund balance and thereby rebuild our reserves. And it's also helping us offset restarting the hiring freeze over the last year. We're recommending $3.6 million of this to go towards the 2022 capital program, which is our basic maintenance program, but again, very important that we have the proper funding for that. In addition, the balance, the $4.9 million, we're recommending appropriating that immediately in the current fiscal year for two particular reasons. One is in the area of tourism. I know Carrie's out there and she'd be the first to tell you we had a very devastating hit to our tourism tax revenues. They're coming back strong, but they're still going to take a while to fully recover. So we're recommending a significant amount of funds in here to do some heightened marketing and promotion over the next year and a half. In addition, last year you saw through project deferrals, and we were very transparent with the board, we deferred a number of transportation and flood relief projects last year due to the downturn in the economy. We're recommending restoring those funds as part of this action today and immediately appropriate that. With that, as
Chairman, may I ask Alan a question?
Yes, Vice Chair Proctor.
Alan, in all intellectual honesty, did we delay and defer last year to $2.7 million because you could forecast and you knew in your heart of hearts that this money was coming down?
I wish I could say yes. We thought those were going to be deferred for a lot more than 1 year, I promise you.
Look, in hindsight, it was brilliant.
Thank you, Vice Chair Proctor.
With that, Commissioners, I'm going to turn it over to the next section. I'm going to turn it over to Ken Morris to talk about the sewer and infrastructure projects.
Thank you. In addition to the revenue loss mitigation being something unique in the ways around federal funding, we're also authorized to allocate funding for infrastructure projects. It gave us the opportunity to look at some of the short-term needs in the community, and specifically, we're allowed to use the funding for water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So going through the county's capital improvements, this one-time federal funding, we're recommending allocating a total of $12.6 million for the 3 wastewater infrastructure projects you see on the screen before you. as you know, the county's made a long-term commitment to protect the community's natural resources. And we've been able to do that in partnership with DEP in securing state funding for wastewater projects, septic tank removals, all in the Wakulla Springs Protection Zone. Looking ahead, the state also has a share of $500 million that they've allocated to septic to sewer projects that will continue to try to leverage state dollars to our local projects. With that in mind, I'm going to hand it over to Shinkton to discuss the human services portion.
I want to, Mr. Chairman, if I could, and I'm sure Commissioner Proctor wants us to stay on this slide for just at least another minute here. This is so very significant. In the ARPA legislation, they were very specific, and we still don't quite know why. We're not complaining about wastewater infrastructure. And as we don't operate a wastewater utility, so to speak, what did qualify was septic to sewer. And boy, were we well positioned to take advantage of this. This will close out our build out of our many years in the works Southside Sewer Project. The total amount, Alan, now, give it to me one more time.
With this 12 million, we have over $72 million commitment.
Yeah. Commissioner Proctor reminded me the other day when he started off with his $250,000 check from Congress a few years ago that got the ball rolling on this with the early PD&E studies. But it's amazing that we're here, and great news that we're here. And as Ken noted, we couldn't be better positioned than we are to take advantage of the state's $500 million allocation that'll follow us, which will allow us to expand and work on the next targeted areas for sewer as well. So I just had to, Ken, you were moving fast, so I had to just at least pause on that for just a moment.
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Chair Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I'm immensely proud, and that's why I put my mask on and put my hands over my mouth, because I didn't want to scream, to believe the screen and recognizing cumulatively how this would position us to bring to fruition our efforts to bring what we're trying to do here, septic tanks in the Wakulla Springs Basin area. And as Vince is pointing out, this began with first $300,000 check, a check that I keep in my office that Congressman Alan Boyd secured, that Sean McGlynn, Dr. McGlynn was able to do the first study of the Wakulla Basin, and we've been building from there off of $300,000 study. And I never thought about that I would be here long enough to sit through and celebrate this moment. The problem about this kind of lift is that nobody, Commissioner Jackson, can see pipes in the ground and say that you did anything up here for the community. And everything that this money goes to is literally like pouring money and burying it in the ground. And it's not a sexy topic, but it's the one which will give to our affordable housing category a new chance to breathe in an area where affordability in terms of economics for our community are more apt to accommodate affordable housing. So when you put these pipes in the ground, it allows for reclassification and do intense upzoning to put more houses on acreage where there's sewer. This is huge. Property values and the possibilities of what commercially, how big them pipes, commercial pipe got to be? It got to be a large pipe. It gives us the chance to create buildings that are larger than 2,500 square feet in an area that's thriving, growing, and waiting for this chance. And Commissioner Welch, God has really blessed your district. And when I went up there, drove up there this week to look at the Bannerman area and how well endowed and appointed it is with eateries and accesses to commercial resources, which the citizens receive. And we've watched that. And I have my fingers crossed that soon our area, Woodville and Deep South community, can also see increase in that way. But without these pipes, there's no chance. So this is the great hope. This has been my resolve. And I want to thank staff for their continuing efforts to pay attention. And because of our relation with the state agencies, we've been able to be a pilot project. And that's what they mean when they say that we're out front, because we have infrastructure and relations and efforts and pilot projects to build upon. So with the $500 or $600 million more dollars coming down soon?
Sure.
So with an additional range of money pouring, it's just impossible that out of 67 counties and $500 million on the table that we ain't gonna get some more money. So I'm truly excited for what this portends for development in the South region of town. My heart is really full, and I thank you all for permitting me to say those few things. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Vice Chair Proctor.
Mr. Chair? Sorry. I was in the...
Let's do Commissioner Dozier and then Commissioner Welch after that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, just a question. You were good to break up some of my comments earlier. Human Services is going to be a huge conversation piece. So could we wrap up conversation on any of the infrastructure, revenue loss piece right now? Any questions we've got, and then move on to Human Services? That was a yes, Mr. Chair?
1 second. Okay. Yes, Commissioner Dozier. I think that we have any other comments on this section, Mr. County Administrator?
Not from us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a quick comment.
Yeah, I thought Ken had just teed up Shanton to come next on Human Services.
Yes.
That's exactly why I asked. So we were moving out of the revenue loss section.
And then Commissioner Dozier, I'm sorry, please. Did you want to comment on what the presentation just finished up on? Okay, and then I think Commissioner Welch has a comment about what we just heard as well, correct? Okay.
I just wanted to frame that, Mr. Chair, from your direction, that we should have a conversation about this section and then move on to the next section.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, sir. Okay. We're all catching up in real time, as always. So this is huge. There's a lot of moving pieces. So that's why I wanted to ask you the question, Mr. Chair. And I was struck by one number, either Ms. County Administrator, you or Alan, just 61 million is the total that we've already received, allocated. Did I hear that correct, Alan?
Between CARES and the additional funding, yes, 61 or 62 million was the total funding we've received and allocated, not counting ERA.
Right. So in less than a calendar year, far less, we processed and pushed out into our community for direct assistance almost as much as what I remember the budget cuts during recessions. I always quoted 62 million. That was our budget cuts during recession years. Is that right?
That's correct.
I think that's just incredible. I mean, just the comparison there of the impact of those dollars in our community, and every budget we had during the recession was just, it was painful to do these cuts and everything. So the fact that you all were able to manage that amount in, I'm guessing 6 months, 7 months or so, that's significant. So yeah, the 61 just stood out to me in a little different way. I got to admit, I came into this discussion knowing that the federal, guidance was going to be, support the revenue lost. We don't want any more cuts, anything like that. The infrastructure is good. But I was a little hesitant because there's still needs in the community. I really like the approach with pulling back those projects that we had deferred. So when we see other communities struggling with bridge maintenance, and we've got Miccosukee Bridge replacement sooner rather than waiting several years. We don't know when it's going to get back into that budget. That is significant, and it will be a huge impact. Palm Road improvements, others. With the sewer, septic to sewer conversion, yes, that is incredibly significant, the 71 million. but more importantly, you looked for the leveraging opportunities. So I'm going to look forward to that legislative update, but targeting a program where we had those leveraging opportunities, that's something that I think was really significant. So I didn't want to skip over those two kind of goals of this and the way you decided to use this infusion of cash that will really help support our goals, but also draw down more money. The other thing that I was looking at, and I got one question, forgive me, Carrie Post, for mentioning this. I did get one question about why are you adding in tourism marketing? And it was pretty simple to say the revenue from our tourism supports all of the agencies, arts, culture, and heritage under COCA grants, all of the different events that TDC provides funding for, all of the different sports events, the cross-country track. And so to do that marketing and bring our numbers back up, I felt like saying that in public because it was a good question. I mean, people do ask about the marketing, but the return on that investment has proven over the last few years to have a dramatic impact on our community. So it might be an odd one for people to see in there, but it absolutely was impacted by COVID. And I think there are real concrete benefits to our community in bringing the revenue back in. So thank you for that. I didn't have anything else to add, Mr. County Administrator, Mr. Chair. This was a significant piece, and because there were questions about spending money on county government operations or infrastructure, I thought I'd highlight a few that stood out to me. Thank you.
Sounds great. Commissioner Dozier, thank you very much. Commissioner Welch.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Briefly, I just wanted to, I was going to say this before Commissioner Proctor mentioned District 4, but I think this is awesome. I think this is a great opportunity to serve your district and complete some of these projects. And I think there is an interesting trickle-down effect, pardon the pun, which is that my folks in Centerville Trace will benefit from this. Completing these projects in the South will free up some money to serve my folks in Centerville Trace who also need to be converted from septic to sewer. So I just wanted to mention that on the record. So congrats, Commissioner Proctor.
Amen.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Welch. Any other comments on this section of item number 2? All right, seeing none, I think it's probably a good time for us to take a lunch break. What's the will of the board? You want 30 minutes, 20 minutes? What do you all think?
30 minutes is that what the county allows employees?
And obviously, totally up to the board. It wouldn't hurt our feelings if you ate where you are and we kept going. But again, Mr. Chairman, that's your call.
It's really up to you.
Mr. Chairman, I don't like eating on TV, so I'm out of breath.
Is there a motion for 30 minutes? All right.
Yes, sir.
30 minutes. I think I heard a motion for second. Not a motion. All right, so why don't we go ahead and reconvene at 12:10 sharp. Thank you all very much. Really appreciate it. We'll see you in 30 minutes.
Thank you.